Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well and having a great Saturday. Tonight we're going to be talking just a little bit about the potential for a severe weather threat, maybe into the middle and late next week, possibly into the central United States. But we'll also be mainly looking at the tropics and just looking at the potential for any future threats in the tropics for the next I would say week or two. And so we'll just be looking at that, and we'll be kind of looking at different models and seeing what they show, comparing some ensemble models, and just seeing what the general consensus is from those models. But that'll be about what all we talk about in this video. But I hope you're all doing well, and I will have chapters in the video, so feel free to go to the tropics part of the video or the severe weather part of the video, but we will be starting off with the tropics. So let's go ahead and get started. So first here, looking at our 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook, and we don't have any areas right now from the National Hurricane Center. Again, as of the latest 7:16 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time Friday update here, we still do not have any areas at this time. And again, same with the 2-day outlook, nothing there, and then as well as the 7-day outlook. But I'm going to talk about why I think this could change, and that we could see potentially some new areas introduced, maybe as early as late this weekend into possibly next week. So now looking at the weather models, and first starting off with the GFS weather model here, and we'll also look at the European model as well as the icon model, and that'll be the main stuff we look at for just the tropics, or not just the tropics, but for the regular models here, the global models, and then we'll look at the ensemble in just a second. But again, first starting off with the GFS model here. So starting off with about right now, and so again, we really don't have any areas to watch over the next couple of days, but what I'm kind of starting to look at, and what we need to kind of continue to look at, is the period into kind of early to the middle of next week. As you can see here into the Caribbean here, we have all this moisture just hanging around, and so really you just have all this moisture. And I mean, almost in the entire Caribbean here, almost all the way into the Gulf, you have a little bit of moisture there. And so you eventually do get a low pressure that develops maybe sometime in the middle of next week on the GFS. And then that kind of spins around there and just lingers around. But while it's just spinning there and staying in that general area, it begins to strengthen a little bit. And then we eventually get kind of a tropical storm or hurricane by this point. And this is the 0-0, by the way, and this doesn't fully go out to as far as I would like it to. It only goes 186 hours out because the run is still coming in. I do apologize for that, but still at the end of the run, we do have a hurricane right here, and again, this is still very far out. We're talking a week out, and so a lot can change and a lot will change on this. But if we compare our previous runs from the GFS here, the GFS has been very consistent with showing this system here, and I do think this will be something we'll have to watch as we get into next week. And I do think the National Hurricane Center will possibly will add some area into here that could hint at that potential for any development of a system. But this would possibly affect maybe the Greater Antilles, possibly late next week into next weekend. But again, it's very far out, and we just got to really take everything just with a grain of salt, and just really compare our models until we get to that point. So I'm not gonna, actually we'll look at the GFS one more time here, just to kind of show the moisture here real quick, and then we'll look at the European. And so you have all this moisture that kind of you could say, surges into this area, and then again you have all that moisture there. I mean, and the only dry air this system, I say this system, but I should say this potential system, because it's not formed yet, but this potential system, I mean, you have only dry air to the north, well to the north of that, and so it doesn't encounter any dry air and shear as well. We'll quickly look at that. The upper level winds here would be, we'll go a little forward. So the upper level winds would be supportive of the growth of this system, because we have some kind of some cyclonic winds in this system, so you really wouldn't have anything fighting against it unless it would have maybe some shear kind of farther to the north. But again, I'm not really going to look at that too much into the specifics, but I'm just putting that out there with the GFS, because it has been very consistent with showing the system. So now we'll look at the European model. I'm going to go to the 12Z. And so the European, not as much, not as certain that this A system will form. And so we go to even the middle of next week, and you still have plenty of moisture down here into the Caribbean as well. And then you might get an area maybe forming. It does have a low pressure that does develop there, but it kind of just moves to the south, and you get another one up here and then another one down there, and then by that time we're well out into the run. It's just not really that reliable at that point. But both models do show moisture here, so we'll just have to continue to watch this and see how this moisture, if it is able to form into a system to develop, or if it just stays moisture and stays in just this area with just some tropical thunderstorms and stuff. So really we'll just have to continue to watch that, and really the only thing we can do right now is just wait and see how the models interpret this as we go over the next couple of days. And so lastly, at the global models, we'll look at the icon and we'll look at the 0Z. So it goes to 168 hours out, almost the end of the run. And so again, moisture showing over there in the middle of next week, and you still just have all this moisture hanging down here in this area. And it does get one low pressure developed maybe late next week, and there again shows up again. So I would say the European and icon are pretty similar, and I mean not all, but most of the global models do show this moisture here and maybe a low pressure getting developed. But I will say the GFS is a lot more aggressive than the other models are as well. But again, just putting that out there. And so again, we'll just have to continue to watch this area and see how this plays out, and hopefully this does not get developed into a system, but it's always worth just monitoring this area of moisture and storms. But lastly, we'll look at the EPS and GFS ensembles here, and then we'll look at the ensemble members. And so I think I've explained this before in some of my other videos, but again, this is just the ensembles are basically an average of different member models of kind of the European. And what it does is just it takes all these individual members and shows us kind of an average area when they put it together. So if you go, we'll go to way out here to 162 hours out. So the blue here, that is areas of high pressure, and the red is areas of lower pressure. And so each one of these individual numbers are individual members and their own members. And so if we go to right now, obviously it's shorter in the forecast range, and so all the members are going to be closer to one area, because the forecast is a lot more certain that this area will have a slight low pressure in this area, and so all the members are going to be in that area. But as you get farther into the forecast, those members will spread out, and we'll have different solutions for different members. But we'll be able to find an average kind of with those members, especially with the ones that are close together and kind of organized together. But if that makes sense. But again, looking at the EPS ensemble here, and really as we go kind of into late next week, you have a little bit of a signal here into the kind of the greater and lesser Antilles here, and then you do have some lows way down here, but and even way over here, but there's just a slight signal here, nothing crazy at this time. And then even as we get into next weekend, a little bit of a stronger signal comes up here, but again, it's just still too far out to pinpoint any specific details. But by next weekend, we still do have a signal here into the Caribbean, and then kind of north of that as well, 2 areas of signals here with kind of some potential systems. So that is just something to kind of look at. And then lastly, looking at the GEFS ensemble, and we'll go to the 18Z run here as well. And so again, the GEFS or the GFS and GEFS are quite a bit different, and they are a lot more intense than the other models. And so as we get into late next week, it shows quite a intense signal here, a very strong signal into the Caribbean, as well as some other ones out here like the EPS ensemble was showing. And then by not this weekend, but next weekend, you have a very, very strong signal here into the Caribbean, and that kind of plays along with the global GFS model as well. And then by early, not this week, but the week after next, we have a very strong signal here. So if the GFS is right, this would be a worst case scenario for this right here. But again, I know I keep saying this, but it's just going to be kind of a waiting game as we get into next week, because the models are just they're still going to change a lot over the next couple of days and next several days. So we'll just take everything kind of day by day and see how this plays out. But again, that is the GEFS ensemble. But again, we'll just look at this, and I'll make kind of more updates on this as we get more information. And again, I do think that it is possible we could see an area introduced maybe late this weekend into early next week, an area here in the Caribbean with a potential for tropical development. But again, we'll have to see how that plays out. But that'll be about it for the tropics. So now looking at the Storm Prediction Center and looking at our outlook. So we don't have any severe thunderstorms forecast for the next couple of days. And then here is the 01Z update or outlook, and this will be updated in about an hour and a half from when I'm making this video. So we just have that little bit of a general thunderstorm risk there into parts of Arkansas, Oklahoma, Tennessee as well. And looking at the day 2 outlook, again, just a small area into parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Then with the day 3 outlook, way up here into Washington State and Oregon as well, just a small area of general thunderstorm risk there. And then looking at our day 4 to 8 range here, so from day 5 through day 8, we have a predictability too low from the National Hurricane Center, the Storm Prediction Center, and that basically means that predictability is too low to introduce a severe weather risk at this time, and that is either a 15% or a 30% risk. So again, just the predictability is too low at the time, and then for day 4, potential is too low. And we'll talk about this potential system in just a second, and we'll go into discuss the potential impacts and where we could see some severe weather in some of the areas, particularly in the central United States. So we'll just be looking at the GFS for this. And so looking at the 0Z GFS, we have just looking at the continental United States, and then looking up here into the northwest US by early next week, and then looking in kind of the north central United States, we do have a low pressure that gets going in this large trough that moves in, and so this will be the area we'll have to watch kind of right into here for that little bit of a severe weather risk. And again, this is still a little far out to get small details, and we'll have to look at kind of the short range models before we can get a good look at this the system. But it does have that low pressure moving through parts of the central United States, and then as well as some quite heavy snow in parts of the northern United States as well, kind of into maybe parts of Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, even into Utah, possibly Colorado, the Dakotas, maybe even northern Minnesota as well, kind of into the middle of next week. But we'll have to watch this area kind of south of that low pressure for that severe weather risk as well. Excuse me. And then we have another area into next weekend that we'll really have to watch as well, because we have kind of this large trough that digs down. And again, this is pretty far out at this time, but we'll have to watch this system and see how it kind of moves into the US, and if it's able to move a lot of moisture to the north and help aid with that severe weather threat. But real quick, we'll look at dew points for our first system. And so there isn't a lot of moisture that gets kind of pushed to the north with this. Maybe kind of with sometime next week, in the middle of next week, you do have some areas in the lower and mid 60s, the dew points, and then even into Texas, dew points into the upper 60s there. And so that moves kind of to the east and pushes that moisture kind of to the southeast and shunts that down. And then you still do have that area of moisture into the mid and upper 60s dew points there. And then you get that other system potentially that could push moisture farther to the north. We'll have to look at that as well. And just quickly looking back at the first system, I know I keep kind of moving back and forth in between these two, but looking at this first system here, you do have quite a potent low-level jet. And so if we get moisture pushed up far with this low-level jet, and that is able to, if we're able to get a lot of moisture into this area, then we could see a potent severe weather risk for this area, as well as this upper level jet is really just strong over this area. And so that combination is not good for severe weather, and so you will have that potential for severe weather. We don't know, again, it is kind of early to tell some of the smaller details with this. And so moisture will really be only the limiting factor for severe weather if this low-level jet and that upper-level jet is that potent and strong into these areas. So we'll just have to continue to watch that, and we'll have to watch that second system as well. But finally looking at the 500 millibar geopotential height, the cyclonic vortice here, and you can see that trough a little better. And then here's our trough right there, that kind of U-shaped right there into the northwestern United States, and that moves in throughout parts of the central United States, and that'll be our first potential severe weather maker. And then we'll have to really watch this second system, kind of this bowling ball trough, as some people call it, as this kind of dives down into the western US, and then will this push all that moisture to the north? We'll have to figure that out kind of into next week, and then as this kind of heads towards the US, potentially not this weekend, but maybe late next weekend into early the week after next. But again, we'll just have to watch that and see how that plays out, but it is very far out at this time, and so we'll just have to kind of play it day by day. But really that'll be about it for the severe weather part. So that's going to be it for tonight's update. I really do appreciate all of y'all watching and all of y'all who watched to the end. I do apologize for not having any videos uploaded the past really 2 weeks. I've just been very busy with school and just schoolwork in general. I've not had a lot of time to just sit down and make. I've been able to make a video, but not a good video, so I just figured I wouldn't bother trying to make one when it couldn't be probably too good, because I always want the best videos for y'all, and I don't want it to be rushed or anything like that. It just doesn't feel as, I would say, professional or put together as I would like it to be. But I'm also going to try to, again, be more consistent and make these videos a little shorter, like this one. I know this one was kind of drug out as well. I didn't mean to make it as long as it was. But if I could keep them around the 20-minute mark, that would be great, because I know y'all don't want to sit through a 30 or 40-minute video and hear me talk about stuff. But yeah, that'll be the best thing for me, if I could do that, and for y'all as well, because I know I can get pretty boring when I'm talking about stuff. But again, I do appreciate all of y'all watching, and I'm going to try to have another video up maybe tomorrow night, but I will definitely have another video up maybe sometime early next week, not before, but as we get more stuff with the models and maybe the National Hurricane Center, as that information comes in and stuff like that. But that'll be it for tonight's video, and I do appreciate all of y'all watching, and I'm sorry it was so late as well for the upload, but I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all's Saturday.